Good day, folks. This is your hillbilly historian coming to you on a rainy day in the Appalachian Hills of East Tennessee. It's a beautiful, rainy spring day, just as warm as it can be. But I'm here to learn you about the truth of John F. Kennedy and PT109. Now, PT109, they've made JFK into a hero. They've made a big movie about PT109 and what a great hero JFK was, and rescuing his men after they had been attacked by a Japanese destroyer and sunk. But I got news for you. It didn't happen that way. Now, JFK exerted a lot of strength, courage, and energy in saving himself and helping rescue his men, doing what he could do. But the story has a whole different truth behind it. And despite all the movies and all the promotions and everything to help Kennedy get elected, the truth is him and his buddies filled up a cooler with ice and cold beer, and they were supposed to be on patrol, but they would go out, cut the engines on their PT boat, which was definitely against the rules. You're not supposed to turn off your diesel engines when you're in enemy territory, because those diesel engines took too long to get started back up. And if you were spotted by the enemy, it'd be difficult to get the engine started and get the hell out of Dodge. Well, they cut their engines, and they were drifting in the currents of the Pacific, and it was nighttime with a really nice, comfortable air in the evening. And they were just drifting and doing what young sailors will do, drinking beer and having a good time. Well, the sad thing was they got spotted by a Japanese destroyer, and they had great night vision goggles and everything back in them days. The Japs were real good at night vision gear, and they spotted that little PT boat 109 out there floating around, and they didn't fire on it. They just ran it down, run through it. That plywood boat, that big steel destroyer, ran through that plywood boat like a knife going through hot butter. And thank God, fortunately, none of the men were killed, and they were all able to make it to an island, and they were able to get rescued later. And General MacArthur, who was in charge of that Pacific area at that time, he wanted John F. Kennedy court-martialed for breaking the rules, endangering the lives of his men, and losing a valuable PT boat. He wanted the man cashiered, court-martialed, busted, ran out of the Navy. But John Kennedy's daddy was old Joe Kennedy, and he'd been ambassador to England, and he went to he knew Franklin Roosevelt, President of the United States. Joe Kennedy went to President Roosevelt and begged him to put a stop to this court-martial. And when Roosevelt agreed to contact MacArthur and stop the court-martial, then Joe Kennedy, you know how greedy Irish Democrats are, he got Roosevelt to agree to a favor. Then he talked Roosevelt into giving his son, John Kennedy, a medal for heroism for rescuing his men. So, this heroic duty or heroic story was a sham put up by the Democrat Party to make a slagger, a man breaking the rules, getting his men in danger, losing Navy boats, turn him into a hero. But that's the way the Democrat Party does things. They falsify, they lie, they misinterpret, they change the truth to benefit themselves and make themselves look better than they really are. But, as a postscript, I'm going to have to say, and I like to joke about John Kennedy was the best Republican we ever elected. He cut taxes. He did some deficit spending to stimulate the economy. And he put more money into Appalachia because he felt grateful toward West Virginia and the Appalachian area for supporting him in the primaries and in the election itself. So he pumped more money into the Appalachian area. He put money into colleges, the development of junior colleges in the communities. He pumped money into medical facilities, hospitals in the Appalachian areas of West Virginia and Eastern Kentucky and Western North Carolina and East Tennessee, Southern Pennsylvania, Southern Ohio. He really did a lot to help, and he put a lot of money into roads because road situation in the Appalachian area was bad. John Kennedy did more than any president in the history of America to bring Appalachia into the modern age and to give us roads and all that. So, hey, thank you, Joe Kennedy, for being the liar you are and were, and for making John Kennedy a hero instead of a goat. And thank you for helping that boy get into the office of the President of the United States, because we people in the Appalachian area can thank John Kennedy for bringing us into the modern age, giving us roads, clinics, hospitals, colleges in the areas, high schools. He pumped billions into Appalachia. And I, as a young man in college at Berea, Kentucky, participated in his VISTA program. That was a volunteer to go out. We'd spend our Saturdays and go out and do work on these little one-room schools all through Eastern Kentucky. We would board up the cracks. We would put flooring down. We would patch the roofs. We would do work necessary to make these one-room schools a little more habitable to children that had to go there. And because the roads were so bad and everything, they had to walk to school. They didn't get buses. But John Kennedy did a lot to change all that. He was, as far as I'm concerned, and plus one other big feather in John Kennedy's hat was 6 times in 3 years he kept us out of war. The Joint Chiefs of Staff were pounding on the table. We gotta open fire on them Russians. We gotta open fire on them Cubans. We gotta go to war. We cannot let them get away with this. And John Kennedy stood against the warmongers of Washington, D.C. That's one reason they had him assassinated. He was not pumping enough billions into the military-industrial complex that his predecessor, Eisenhower, warned us about. And Kennedy, the man he was, 6 times he kept us out of war, and preserved the lives of young American men. Uh, and he just did a fantastic job standing up against the warmongers in the Pentagon and the CIA and these super secret evil organizations that part of the deep state swamp of Washington, D.C. that has become so evil, especially in a modern era of American history. And folks, this is your Appalachian hillbilly historian from the hills of East Tennessee, learning you about the truth in history. Signing off. Good day.